Grayson, we're finally completing our Andor Season 1 recap.
We are covering the final 3 episodes of Andor Season 1. Episode 10, One Way Out. Episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix. And Episode 12, Rick's Road. But we got some cool announcements from Celebration. I figured people might be curious what we think of that.
I'm really excited for this, just because I love Ryan Gosling.
I'm hoping and almost expecting for this to get a slight title change to maybe Starfighter, a Star Wars story.
I have one stipulation. Can you take a guess what I desire to see in the movie?
Much like Kanan, beginning to his end, I think Maul currently is a perfect character.
Perrin, as I understand it, is not gambling again. What Mon Mothma is trying to do is to make it look like that's where all the money's going.
Oh, dude, when Cassian jumps that corner and just one shot into the Death Trooper's neck and it just falls out, I was like, woo! I was like, that was clean.
He crit. He crit. He made a critical injury, like right here.
What I see is the beginning.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, the Star Wars podcast. I'm Grayson, one of your hosts.
I am Cole, also one of your hosts. Grayson, we're finally here. And by finally here, I mean finally completing our Andor Season 1 recap. Why don't you tell us what episodes we're about to go through?
We are covering the final 3 episodes of Andor Season 1, leading into Andor Season 2 in just a few days. You're probably getting a double upload. You're probably getting
Yippee!
Part 3 and Part 4 back to back. But we have Episode 10, One Way Out. Episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix. And Episode 12, not 13, Rick's Road. But I can hear you, like, I can hear, like this, like, yeah, noises. I was like, but before we get into that, yesterday, across the entire, I was going to say across the pond, across the entire world, Star Wars Celebration was happening. And while it's not done yet, there's been a couple
still currently happening.
It is still happening. I think people are waking up right now as we are recording this, because they are 13 hours ahead. But we got some cool announcements from Celebration. I figured people might be curious what we think of that. So before we get into the Andor stuff, feel free to skip ahead if you don't really care about this. But you know, if you want our thoughts, let's get into them. Let's talk. Let's go in the chronology of what has been shown or what has been announced. None of these trailers have been shown, but let's talk about the first thing. New Star Wars movie in 2027. Sean Levy directing, Ryan Gosling starring. A handful of years after Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars Starfighter.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I'm glad that they're finally adapting the video game.
Yeah.
I was very excited to see that. Honestly, I'm really excited for this, just because I love Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
And he looks so excited. You already got his hat.
I already got the hat.
Grayson already got his hat. But like, I saw a clip of Ryan Gosling just kind of looking at the camera, just like waving, you know. But like, he looked excited, but in a really nervous kind of way, like kind of like really humble sort of way. You know that he's really pumped for this.
Yeah, dude. They showed like the images of like his Empire Strikes Back bed sheets when he was like 5.
Why they got to do him like that?
It was his mom apparently who sent them in.
That's great. Yeah. Well, okay. So this kind of reminds us of the Rogue Squadron movie, forever delayed, forever in limbo. But it reminds me of it in a good way, because I feel like to me, I feel like it was a good thing that they were kind of stepping out and making new interesting projects that can have their own isolated stories and characters. I mean, Rogue One is not the same, but that's one of the reasons why I really liked Rogue One, was because it felt like really original despite being super connected to A New Hope. But for Jedi, I was gonna say for Jedi Starfighter, but for Star Wars Starfighter, like, this is exciting because I don't know what's gonna happen. It's just like it's new, and we love new stuff.
Yeah, I'm always a sucker for, like, I kind of want most projects to be standalone stuff, or like if they're going to do like new movies that are like in a series, I would prefer them be like, you know, completely detached, like no episode 10, 11, 12, you know, like personally obviously I really would love like a KOTOR trilogy, or, you know, I know there was like I don't think this is happening anymore, to be honest. I'm so uncertain, but there was like the whole Rian Johnson trilogy that was going to happen, which personally, like, I was always kind of down for, because that's besides the point. But what I'm saying is I like the standalone stuff. I'm hoping and almost expecting for this to get a slight title change to maybe Starfighter, a Star Wars story. Because Andor Season 2 recently brought back with further marketing, a Star Wars story. Like, the original Andor title didn't say a Star Wars story, and they kind of like removed that. But I've always liked instead of it just being like Star Wars blank, I've always liked it being title a Star Wars story, because it indicates this is not Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back. This is a standalone thing. And yeah, like, when I remember that there was all of these rumors, like, it was on the stage, like, Sean Levy apparently was like, I want to dispel all these rumors. A lot of them aren't true, but, you know, the one that I keep hearing is that Ryan Gosling is in my movie, and that is true. And then Ryan Gosling walks out, and I was like, immediately I was like, okay, Ryan Gosling would be a great smuggler pilot type, you know, like, I just think he exudes that type of character in multiple different ways. You and I are big fans of Blade Runner 2049. Very bounty hunter coded. So good. So good. Even Ken is kind of like a goofball in Barbie, where it's like, you kind of got some Han Solo in him, you know?
He's honestly, Ryan Gosling's been it's just a bunch of great hits lately. He's kind of going through, I mean, he's I don't know if I would say that he hasn't been one, but he's definitely like an A-lister now. Like, he's 100%. Really like, everything that he's done recently has just been stellar, and his range is incredible. And I mean, I can kind of get a vibe what kind of movie this will be, given that Sean Levy is directing it. Yeah. But I'm still excited to see what different kind of character Ryan Gosling could be playing.
I feel like it's going to be obviously more space battle, space skirmish oriented, but similar to Solo, which we are big fans of, where it's going to be more adventurous, less, you know, we're talking about Andor today, but it's not going to be like an Andor type project. It's going to be, you know, more, and I don't think it's going to be, because I remember like with Rogue Squadron, the whole pitch was kind of like, you know, Top Gun, and I don't think that's kind of the vibe. I think it's going to be more like, I don't know, like, the first thing that comes to mind is like, oh, if they did like a Poe Dameron type movie, where it's like kind of more like a lone wolf, you know, like Starfighter pilot kind of guy. But maybe he's not a lone wolf, you know, maybe he's and like a crew of other Starfighter people, which I think would be awesome. We really don't know a whole lot of the details other than it being post Rise of Skywalker.
It's just it's not even about actual starfighters. Ryan Gosling is a character that fights stars with his fists. That's just what it's about. Like, it's just a complete red herring. They're like, hey, by the way, we're not talking about ships. That's funny. It's just a whole movie of Ryan Gosling going like, I'm gonna beat you. He's just like pointing at a sun.
Okay, this is really dumb, and I'm willing to acknowledge this, but imagine if like he called himself Starfighter, you know? Like kind of like a Star Lord or like a Star Killer,
like
kind of
like
thing.
a Skywalker kind of thing too?
Yeah, but he
Skywalker, Starfighter.
And so he's just like, oh, like they just call, like, maybe his nickname is like the Starfighter, you know? Like, okay, and here's this is gonna get really meta as well, because he plays the driver in 2011's Drive. He doesn't have a name. He's just called the driver. And I'm kind of like, would they do that? Would they pull inspiration from that a little bit, where he's just the Starfighter?
Now, they could. Look, I think you're onto something here. I think you're cooking. That could be really cool. So okay, well, it's interesting that it is apparently 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. You said, so it's going to be the furthest in the timeline that we've seen. So what is he going to be doing in a Starfighter? Is it going to be like underworld stuff, or is it going to be kind of leading up a new faction or something like that? That could be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would kind of like to see him be kind of a, I don't know, like a free agent, right? Not really affiliated with something, but then maybe he does become affiliated with like a group at some point. I don't know.
I would love it to be like kind of like almost, this is a, I don't know, like a weird analogy, almost kind of like a biker gang, not like a mean, like tough kind of way, but like maybe they're like a social club, you know, of like these Starfighter pilots that, yeah, they're like, best example for any Elder Scrolls fans out there, like kind of like the Fighters Guild or the Companions, where there's like these like this kind of niche club of like Starfighter pilots, and yeah, like maybe they do some mercenary work, but like they're doing it for the thrill of you know, of the starfighting element, right? And so because I don't want it to be, so we'll get into it in a little bit, but like because the pitch was like, you know, lone wolf to possibly working for somebody. That seems like what they're doing with the Mando and Grogu movie, and I would be shocked if they did like the same premise back-to-back years with Mando and Grogu being only a year before. So I definitely feel like it's going to be, I don't know, like my visual instinct is like Akira, but with like starfighters, you know, where they're like guy in cool jackets, and because that's, listen, Ryan Gosling in every movie he's in always has a cool jacket. It is an undebatable fact. He will have one in this movie, and I just think
and you and I are gonna buy it. We're gonna get that jacket.
Listen, I still want Kay's jacket, man. Like anyway. And I will say they did show when Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling walked away. There was pictures. There was a starfighter behind the stage that you couldn't fully see. You could only see part of it.
A Star Wars Starfighter? A Star Wars Starfighter? No
Star
way!
Wars story.
Just like the movie. Yeah, so okay. This could be a really good chance to show like really intense pilot I don't know. I want to say cinematography, you know?
Yeah.
Like what if it's kind of like Top Gun, Maverick kind of stuff? What if it's like Dunkirk kind of stuff with you know, with like Tom Hardy as the pilot in that, right?
Yeah.
Just like very intimate in the way that it explores like all of the bells and whistles in the cockpit and like the rattling of the starfighter.
Yeah.
I don't know, panicking systems when your deflector shield's off.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be just a really great way to show what it is being, like what it's like being in a space battle, and hopefully it encourages more like Starfighter games, because I heard that like Star Wars Squadrons was good, but I never got a chance to play it. Yeah, and I think that we need to do more of that, because if it's done well, pilot like space flight gameplay is so awesome.
I was
same thing for movies.
Pitching to my dad yesterday of like, I want so badly like a Star Wars Starfield type game where like you and a ship and getting to free roam.
God forbid.
Yeah, like, and even if it's in like a contained system of like, here's a couple planets and a few moons and a space station, and like you get that variety, and it's not like the whole galaxy, but you're like maybe like you're stuck in a system because of some nebula that's not allowing hyperspace travel, so you're kind of stuck there in that thing, whatever. But getting like that and having that like starfighter, like getting in and flipping the switches and being able, like, that's one thing that's great about Squadrons.
In VR?
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah.
In VR?
Yeah.
Oh
well, that's what Squadrons does so well. They've already got the gameplay down. Squadrons, you can choose which direction your deflector shields are going, how much power are going to them versus the thrusters versus your turbo lasers, all of your gadgets, bells and whistles. It's all there in the cockpit, and it's VR compatible. So the template is there. It just to be expanded upon. Anyway, so I'm getting carried away, but I think, you're right of like, and personally, one of my favorite Starfighter scenes is in The Last Jedi with Poe, in that opening when he's taking down the Supremacy. Just the slick, like, camera movements in that, even though it's, like, completely CG, is just so, like, it gets me so fired up, where when he's, like, drifting the X, which by the way, you can do that in Squadrons as well. You can like drift the X-wings and like go around corners and stuff.
Okay, but like you and I were literally just talking about this before we started recording. The Revenge of the Sith opening, you know, with all of the space combat in there and like the movements with the starfighters and stuff. It's so awesome to watch when it's done well. And then also like, I'm thinking like Force Awakens, you know, that's one hell of a pilot, like watching Poe.
Oh my gosh, the oneer, like he's
it's really good.
Yeah. I truly like.
Just to make this whole episode. What are we talking about?
Yeah, but yeah, it's needless to say, we're pretty excited. I think it's gonna just be a fun Star Wars adventure for like kind of all ages.
Star Wars story.
Whoa! Yeah, I agree. Well, there's a movie that they announced. Not that announced, that they just continue to talk about. This all got announced at the beginning of the main panel for The Mandalorian and Grogu, which comes out in just over a year. And they did show a trailer. I've heard like details about it, so I know like kind of what happens because people were in the panels. Friends of ours were describing what was happening. And I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm very excited for this movie now. I think there's a lot of potential, and I still am not really sure what the full plot is of like what makes this better as a movie versus a season of television. That being said, I am a little concerned with two things, and it's more so because I want the movie to do well, and I fear it will not. And the first thing is because this is a character that was explicitly in TV shows and is now making the jump to the big screen.
Right.
And this is the first Star Wars movie since The Rise of Skywalker, so that might confuse people who maybe don't have Disney Plus or have not been keeping up with Star Wars since the last movie in theaters. And the last thing that I'm really concerned about is it comes out like 2 or 3 weeks after Avengers Doomsday. And listen, like...
Oh, not again.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm like, did we not learn our lesson with Solo? Like, yes, I know Solo came out only like 4 or 5 months after... Last Jedi, and it was poorly marketed, but it was also sandwiched in between Infinity War and Deadpool 2, which did exponentially better than Solo. And I'm worried that they will do that again, and I personally think they need to delay both this movie and the next movie. I think they just need to stick to December. I feel like people are now used to Star Wars season with movies being December.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment to make. I mean, it is kind of funny that like no matter what though, like Disney wins because they own both.
Yes.
But what was going on with Avengers absolutely tanked Solo, but also Solo was fresh off the heels of The Last Jedi, which was very polarizing. And I definitely don't think that helped.
Yes.
Hopefully, The Mandalorian and Grogu will be able to succeed. At least in like a financially profitable way so that Disney doesn't get scared off again. But I guess we'll have to see. I agree with what you said about how like people might not actually really know. I mean, if there's going to be any character from Star Wars TV that they're going to know about, it's going to be Grogu.
Yeah.
Which is 100% why he's in the title. Let's be real, you know.
If they could honestly, if they could get away with it being called The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, they would, but that would just be ridiculous, you know?
It would be very, I don't know, man. I would just...
So we know a little bit about the trailers of the detail, what people saw in the panel itself. Based on like the information or like, there's also like some images out there. What are your like... The one image that I keep seeing the most of is of Rada of in this like arena, which like like if there's any image I see, it's that one because it's kind of like I think like the stinger at the end.
He looks kind of buff,
dude.
Honestly,
Do you remember Gracchus the Hutt from the?
That's exactly what I was gonna bring up. Exactly what I was gonna bring up.
Just jacked out of his mind. I'm like, oh, okay. He was like. He must have been that baby in Jabba's palace where like, you know how like younger guys will like, they'll have like the pictures of like Arnold or whatever to like show like when they're getting in shape, you know, or like they're, he was like, he saw Gracchus and was like just like,
man,
I gotta be
Gracchus
like that.
is so cool. Well, okay, to be honest, he probably grew up looking at his dad and he was like, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe I should start bumping iron or something.
Yeah. So that is one thing that I'm most interested to see, because I don't know how big of a prominence he's going to have in this movie.
Yeah.
But I will say, we don't know what happened to Rada after the Clone Wars movie.
After the movie, right? So there's an incredible stretch of time where like anything related to Rada is just completely wiped from the HoloNet.
Yeah.
Maybe there was like a mention, but I don't remember any from just off the top of my head. I'm kind of headcanoning right now that after he was kidnapped, Jabba was like, well, that's not going to happen again. And so he just kind of wiped the slate of his son's existence so that no one would get close to him.
Yeah.
He has a lot of influence, so that wouldn't surprise me
if
he did that.
So I'm thinking of the only other times we see Jabba in Clone Wars specifically, and I think the only moment I recall is when Maul goes there, right? Am I not mistaken? When he like assembles all of the huts, or he might even, I think he goes to Jabba's palace with the Mandalorians, right?
Yeah. So like he's a part of that meeting. I think you see him once when he's like talking to Zero the Hutt through like a holocron or like a hologram.
Yeah.
And then he appears in the Malachor arc of Rebels. He looks really weird during that arc, but
Jabba does?
Yeah.
What?
Just give it a second.
Oh my god, I hate you, dude.
I was like, so you'll see why while I was explaining it, I started to smile, and then I was like, oh, this is gonna be funny, so I'll mention that. Anyone who hasn't seen Rebels, Ezra Bridger calls himself Jabba as an alias. Just.
I was like, what is this dude talking about right now? And that's like one of the most obvious jokes on the like Star Wars.
It's because I was so serious about it. I was just so like, and he appears in this. But I kind of am led to believe that he just wipes the slate clean of Rada, probably just to protect his son. Because I mean, you know, Jabba sucks, okay, but he really loved his son. All right, you know, we have that, so that wouldn't surprise me. It's Punky Muffin, yeah, 100%. I remember when he said that. My Punky Muffin.
I honestly don't know how big of a presence he's gonna have, but I mean, obviously that's like the main part of what we know. So it's we know there's like this opening, I think, of like he's like taking out all these dudes in like an AT-AT or something.
Hallway scene.
Yeah, like a hallway, like one shot. And listen, like as Daredevil fans here, we love hallway scenes, you know. Well, I guess as a Star Wars fan too, because you know you've got Luke and you've got Vader, so you know it's you get a Mandalorian.
As a fan of hallway scenes,
as a fan of hallways.
Like it. As a fan of scenes in general in movies,
put them together, beautiful, just creation.
Hallway scene. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's cinema. Matt Reeves. I'm sure you can get it.
That's true, because he technically did one as well in the Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was mostly in the dark, but
I mean, it counts. Technically, there was a brief one in it. This is not a Batman podcast, anyway. And so apparently Sigourney Weaver is playing like an X-wing pilot general, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It seems like she's giving missions to like. It seems like Mando and Grogu are like deep in like doing exclusive contract work for the New Republic, even down to like. I remember back at D23 when we got details from that, we see a lot. I think there was like similar footage shown of they have a new ship. Like I have not heard anything about the N1 being mentioned anywhere, and it's not from what I can tell from any like image or description that I hear. It looks like the Razor Crest, but it seems to be a bit smaller. Like it looks a little bit more like a 3/4 scale Razor Crest, where it's not as big and it's not as like dense, but it is the same concept of like having more space. And because I think at D23 Zeb is in it as well, so like we know it's not the N1 because ain't no way Zeb fitting in that thing.
Yeah, well, okay, it wouldn't surprise me. this would be kind of funny if like. So do you know what the actual model of the Razor Crest is? Because it's named the Razor Crest.
I think it is just called a Razor Crest. Like I think much like Luthen's Fondor Hallcraft, where it's like they call it the Fondor Hallcraft. I think the Razor Crest is just I think it is like a. They may mention it in Mando season 1. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so no matter what it is, it would be kind of funny if like I don't know, the one that he used to have is like the Razor Crest, the Razor Crest 19 BBY.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I think I'm gonna get one of the newer models. I'm gonna get the Razor Crest 5 BBY.
Well, because they did mention that in I think Mando season 1 or 2 that the Razor Crest was an older ship, like it was more vintage. It was like and that's kind of the inspiration for a lot of George's like his love of like cars, that he was that he really enjoyed like I guess the inspiration was like it was a classic muscle car, and that's what the Razor Crest is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But what were you about to say?
So I wanted to clarify. So it's called the ST-70 assault ship.
Oh, okay.
Also known as the ST-70 Razor Crest assault ship, or simply as the ST-70 class.
Okay.
Interestingly, although it's not that big of a surprise, it's not even a starfighter class or like a Hallcraft. It's a gunship, which is kind of cool.
Okay, cool.
It also makes sense.
Orlom and Zuckuss have a very similar ship. Theirs is also a gunship. Yeah.
They do. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is like really nerd level here. It doesn't surprise me that the manufacturer is CEC Corellian Engineering Corp. I had to do a lot of research.
Okay. Well, if they have, I mean, we know from Ahsoka that they have control of Corellia, so maybe they commissioned him a specific ship to use for New Republic jobs.
Well, I mean, he's got that New Republic money now, so.
I mean, it seems like he's working on that airbase that we see in Mando season 3, where like he went with like Carson Teva, and like where Zeb shows up, like it's like almost like a very Pacific World War II airbase of like, you know, it being which was absolutely the inspiration. I think Dave said in the panel that like they wanted for the Mandalorian, for the show and for the movie, to go back to the roots of what inspired George, and that was samurai movies, space space serials, westerns, and old war movies. And I'm like, when you think about it, like the Mandalorian has a little bit of all of that. And
I mean,
that's Star Wars in a nutshell.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of just like classic Yavin 4. You know, seeing all the ships and all that.
Yes,
we could go with Echo Base as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, from what I've seen so far, I'm excited. I mean, it looks like fun. We all have our reservations regarding certain things, like based on potentiality of success. But at the very least, from what we've seen and heard, I mean, I'm excited for it. Sure.
Yeah. There's rumors that there were rumors at least that like this was actually going to be like the backdoor part 1 to like a trilogy, where like the first part was going to be told in Mando and Grogu, and like this, because then Ahsoka might set up, like, because they confirmed, they doubled down on some of the movies being made in that panel before they announced Starfighter, that the Rey movie is still happening. It's just going to be one movie.
Good.
The James Mangold, good to hear. The James Mangold movie is still happening, which I'm glad. Dawn of the Jedi. The Dave Filoni movie is still happening.
Good to hear.
So, and I'm like, okay, with how much Dave has been invested in kind of the Mandoverse era of storytelling with Mando and Grogu, and with Book of Boba Fett and with Ahsoka, like I think whatever his movie is, like I personally think Thrawn will end up being the main villain of his movie. I think that's kind of what they're teeing up for. If
it's not Thrawn, it's gonna be Thrawn with someone else. I'm kind of hoping that like maybe more than one villain gets set up.
Yeah,
you know, that could be kind of cool.
I love when there's a good dual villain dynamic. You know.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential here because from what we've seen, Mando still seems to be tackling Imperial Remnant.
Mhm.
And so as for like the main antagonist of this movie, we don't know. So I'm curious, like, I don't know, like a cool warlord or something like that. That could be neat.
Yeah.
Lots of great potential there. I'll just kind of leave that as it is.
I would love personally like a really good female villain, and I was kind of hoping that Sigourney Weaver was going to be the main antagonist, and like we still don't really know what the plot is of this movie, because one of my concerns, but also my excitements, is that The Mandalorian as a show is by nature, like, it is telling a greater story, but you occasionally will get an episode where it's like, hey, this is just them doing, like, specifically Mando season 1, every episode is a different little story until they connect back to Navarro. Even Mandalorian season 2 is the same way, but it is kind of progressing the story. And of course, with those seasons, we've got Moff Gideon, but now I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't think they're bringing Moff Gideon back. We know those warlords are out there. Like, what is
I didn't see a body.
Yeah,
I didn't see a body.
He didn't have the mustache, guys. Come on, it may not be him. You know, I don't know.
It was a clone.
I mean, it probably. So I don't know. I want to know. I'm excited for it being a movie, and I think from what I hear, it looks really good. And from like the small images and stuff, because there's been they were like releasing behind the scenes images as well of the panel, and like there was like, you know, Dave and John in like the cockpit of the AT-AT with the AT-AT driver and stuff like that. And it was like the first time they ever actually made a full set for an AT-AT, which I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, imagine just getting to walk around in one. Like, that's insane,
well,
you know?
Well, I really liked being able to see like the inside of it kind of completely.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, I mean, for what the Empire manufactured, pretty good job on like space allocation. It's like pretty roomy in there.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, I can't remember like if they said, or I mean maybe they will clarify, like if it's a standard AT-AT or if it's like, you know, a different model, because, you know, there's like the AT-DPs in Rebels, and then there's the AT-ACT in Rogue One, which is like the tall, skinny version.
This is the AT&T, the phone company.
All terrain and transport.
All terrain and terrain.
But yeah, I know I'm really pumped for the movie. I think I'm just happy to have Star Wars back in theaters, and I really do hope it sticks the landing and that people do turn out to go see it.
I have one stipulation.
Okay.
I have one requirement for the movie. Mm-hmm. Can you take a guess what I desire to see in the movie? It's okay if you can't. I'll be happy to tell you. Does
it involve a guy who likes to, you know, ride banthas, or like to show people who ride banthas?
What? Fancy, you should say that. Yes, I would like to see Boba Fett in the movie, because I think that we need more good Boba content. Sorry, nix that. I think we need good Boba content. And look, Tamara Morrison, he didn't work out for nothing, okay? Get him in the movie, man. Put him to work. All right? I want to see some cool stuff.
Dude, Mando, in my opinion, was like at its peak when he had that like ensemble of characters, you know, of like that supporting cast of like, hey, there's Fennec Shand with Boba, and of course Boba, and Bo-Katan, and Cobb Vanth, and like all of those guys, you know, like, I was gonna say something though related, like with Mando and Grogu taking like exclusive contract work for the New Republic. That reminds me a lot of Kyle Katarn and Jan Ors in Legends, where like what they did is they were mercenaries, but like all they did was mercenary work for the New Republic. Like that's because that was like the, you know, the best source of income. Kind of like how Boba did a lot of work for the Empire, even though he wasn't pro-Empire, you know? Yeah. And I mean, even though Boba is still on Tatooine, like there's nothing to, like, maybe the Imperials get involved in that somehow. That's what I'm saying. Like it would be cool to like tee up a big villain, and it'd be like, oh, like this is a standalone movie, but it does connect to like another. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Hey, no, like you brought up that makes a good point. Rod of the Hutt, okay? Like in the Boba show, like the Hutts threatened Boba, like they're gonna try to do something with him to get Jabba's palace back. right? I wouldn't be surprised if like Rada was like, hey, yo, Mando, I need you to do something for me, buddy.
Yeah.
My dad's place got totally crashed.
Dude, I think it would be kind of great if Rada was like just a little bit of a jackass. You know, like he's just kind of like the spoiled kid. I think so.
100%. It is interesting that like in this shot, it looks like he's kind of in the center of an arena. And if he's buff, he might not be like the host. He might be a competitor. That could be interesting too.
That was what I heard, that people think that he's like actually fighting in a gladiator pit. There's one more thing though that I am the most excited about, and I know you are as well. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not beating around the bush. New animated show next year, Maul Shadow Lord. Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah. So this just in, we're at business again.
We are so back.
we're so back. A new animated show that's not a mini-series, a new animated show with Maul as the protagonist, okay?
Dude.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about...
I think it's... Is it what they said? It was like 5 years after the Clone Wars, maybe?
I heard from Sam.
Years.
I heard Sam. It was only a year after Revenge of the Sith.
See, that's crazy. So like we're in the Bad Batch era, right? Yeah.
Definitely,
okay. Go ahead with what you were gonna say.
I was gonna say, I was like, so we've heard a little bit about it. It seems like it's definitely the formation of, or maybe his continual forming and rise of Crimson Dawn, which is excellent because that is some of my favorite stuff in the Clone Wars. Maul is in my top 5 characters. He is my favorite Star Wars villain.
He just keeps getting better, man, because they keep making stuff.
And first of all, I just want to say I'm so glad this is not like a resurrection thing of like, guys, he's still alive after because I truly think, much like Kanan, I think Maul currently is a perfect character, and his beginning to his end. Again, like the whole parallel of him being Sisyphus, but I love Maul content, and I love when it's him on his own clashing with the criminal underworld, because he is such a unique character where he is not a Hutt, he is not a Pike, he is not Black Sun, he is a Force sensitive trained by Emperor Palpatine, and he is going to do whatever he can to mess up the galaxy so that he can get to Palpatine and kill him.
So I 100% agree. I think that Maul is such an entertaining character to follow, not because he's like the embodiment of the Sith. It's more because he is the embodiment of what the dark side does to you, both in like an emotional way, but also how it physically manifests, and how it affects your life and the people around you, and how it affects your fate, how it affects your destiny. And he the Sisyphus allegory is just wonderful, because like we all know he's just gonna fall back down again. And
we know he does.
And he's we know, and we know that he's never gonna get over it. But watching him kind of struggle and try to reason with it, because even in like the last season of the Clone Wars, he starts kind of making sense just a little bit. All right,
like that dialogue with Ahsoka, you're like, Ahsoka was going to join him. She was gonna do it. The only caveat was that he said, I'm gonna kill Anakin. And she was like, Anakin wouldn't do that. But everything else, she was like, okay, that sounds good.
He just like gives her a seminar on politics. And like, he's so right. But the guy was like raised in a cave with a box of scraps.
For a large portion of his life, yes.
Yeah, 100%. But yes, it looks very good.
Yeah.
Legally, from the small snippet that has been shown.
Yes, there was the like in where he's like walking down the ramp and you hear the clank of his metal legs, and then just the ignition of his lightsaber. Dude, the animation just keeps getting better.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I really don't know how they do it. But like, did you watch the interview with the director of the show and with Sam Witwer?
I have not yet. I heard, is her name Athena? Is that her name? Something like that?
It's Athena. I think she's the VP of Lucasfilm Animation.
Okay.
But she's the, I believe she's the director of the show. But she and Sam Witwer were talking with Anthony Carboni. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. He's so funny. He's such
great.
a great host. Either way, they say some really exciting stuff. One of the most exciting things for me was that Sam Witwer mentioned that something something that would happen routinely while they were doing Clone Wars, any real season that Maul was in, Dave would like say, and realistically, okay, like Maul does this, Maul does that, and then Sam's like, well, I feel like Maul would kind of, like we would show this and stuff like that, and then Dave's like, yeah, we would, but we can't do this because it's not Maul's show. What he's saying is that kind of stuff cannot be shown because it's not Maul's show. What show is it? It's the Clone Wars. But then Sam Witwer said when he was talking to Dave was like, you know, this is Maul's show now. So what? So okay. What
Let's
that
go.
implies? It was, so the way that I phrased it was very tangential, but what that implies is that I don't think this is going to be a kid show. I think that this is going to take like the scene from the Clone Wars where like Maul decapitates that village of people, and where Savage decapitates all of the members of Black Sun, and like in their council. That's what the show is going to be. This is Maul's show. I think this show is going to be a lot darker than your standard.
The Maul stuff in Clone Wars and even in Rebels is some of the darkest stuff in Star Wars animation. When you have him as the prime character, I think you can get away with a lot more.
And just the fact that it's a dark side centric show, it just opens up the possibilities here for a lot of really good subject material.
If Acolyte is anything to go by on the how far they can go when it's a dark side centric show, yes, this is animation, but we have seen plenty of things within the past decade of animated, not Star Wars, but just like animated properties. Like Invincible is one of the most popular TV shows out there right now, and that is an animated show that does not pull its punches. Now, do I think, you know, it's going to go as far as something like Invincible with like the gore and swearing and stuff?
I don't think so.
No. Like at the end of the day, you still have to make it. You do still have to make it. You can't go in, like, you can't just make it hard R. That being said, like Daredevil Born Again just wrapped, and that was the first time that Disney on Disney Plus went as far as they did. I mean, we're not going to talk about Daredevil on here. We'll just know that finale was insane on how far they went.
Yes, it was violent. That's what I'll say. But yeah, I mean, like Tales of the Empire is kind of a good example of like what we could see. Also, even Tales of the Jedi with like Dooku's last episode, good example of kind of like the subject material that we could see, just very, very dark and very intense. They're Sam also in this interview said that like they've brought in like Brad Rao from the Bad Batch show.
Heck yeah.
And he said that like the writing itself for the show is really, really good. But one thing that Athena said that made me very happy was like their goal for this show was to essentially take every medium, every part of like what goes into making these shows. So the acting, the animation, the cinematography, the score, the writing, and increase it by 30% in terms of quality. That was their goal. They were trying to push for the best quality show that they could give, and I think it's gonna pull off. I'm very, very excited for what we have in store.
Well, so there's one crucial element that I want to talk about, and I'm curious your thoughts on, because I think as of today, there has been a little bit of I'm gonna say there's some discourse on this, because I think this is a character that is kind of polarizing for canon and Legends lovers, and that is that it seems like that they are including a Red Twi'lek apprentice, and it probably is going to be, I'm not going to say Darth Talon, because he's not Darth anymore. will not be Darth anymore, but that they
Formerly
might
Darth.
be, yes, just Talon. Red Twi'lek was shown, and apparently in the trailer he says he's working with like Rook Cast from like the Shadow or from the Mandalorians and everything. That
Mandalorian.
That's this is like my pseudo name for him. That he finds this Twi'lek girl and wants to train them. And so I'm gonna go and say this because I know we have some thoughts on this. Like, first thing, I am not a Darth Talon expert. I have read a little bit of the Legacy comics. I do not know a whole lot about her lore, but what I will say is that I've never really been quite a fan of her because of the, we'll just say, eye candy aspect that she kind of delves into when it comes to the Star Wars stuff. It always felt a little fan servicey in the sense, not fan service as in like what Marvel and Star Wars, but fan service more like anime. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like,
right. Yeah.
And so, or I was like, I'm like, I don't need like a busty Twi'lek woman that looks just like Darth Maul to be roaming around with a red lightsaber being all flirty and stuff. It's just not my thing. That being said, so the Legacy comics, that's like 130 years after. That was like Darth Krayt stuff. That's where Talon was. We know that in George Lucas's treatments, he wanted Talon to be Maul's apprentice to go up against the New Republic and I was never really quite a fan of that, but I will say, apparently there was an interview where Dave and Sam were saying that they wanted, well, at least with this, to take some elements where they could from George's treatments, which makes me think, okay, this is absolutely one of those things, and that they wanted for Maul to have an apprentice for at least the first, at least 10 or at least 5 to 10 years before we see him in Solo. So what EU people are, and we've made it very clear that we love the EU. We love Legends. We grew up on Legends stuff.
Absolutely.
I don't think we have an attachment to Darth Talon per se.
No.
But we also love canon a lot. We are not someone that we are not.
I love Star Wars, okay?
Yeah, I'm like, I just love when Star Wars is cool and when it's good and that's fun and it doesn't have to be put in a box of canon or Legends or whatever. That being said, I think some people are like embracing this of being like, yes, we're finally getting George Lucas's Star Wars again, And there's other people being like, why are we getting this like key jingle EU character that nobody really cares about? Yeah, like for lack of a better term.
Look over here. Look.
Yeah, they're like, hey, look, it's the hot red Twi'lek. But here's what I'm going to say, and I really want to hear your thoughts as well. Of like, despite me not having an attachment to Darth Talon, and I'm gonna look up her lore very soon. I think, to be honest, first this is the best way to include this type of plot beat from George's sequels of like. I do like the idea of Maul having this like apprentice, but it's not a Sith apprentice, because Savage was kind of that in a way. And I do think, honestly, this is they don't seem like, from what I understand, that the character's not scantily clad, not in like a black loincloth.
She seems like a child right now.
Yeah, like a teenager or something. You know? Honestly, my best inkling for Witcher fans out there is very Geralt Ciri. In my opinion, but like dark side,
Oh, yeah.
And that's, did I say that right? Did I do that right?
Geralt.
But I hear it interchanged all the time. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. It's just, Geralt and Ciri. I can see that. Although this is much more evil.
Right. And so I think, for my opinion on the matter, is I'm like, listen, if they can make a character fit into the canon stuff and make it better, that's fine. And to be honest, I think they're gonna make Talon better from doing this.
Yeah. Okay. So I've given this a fair bit of thought since I have been made aware of. We'll just say like air quotes Talon. Stand-in Talon, pseudo Talon.
Yeah.
So like as far as I know, and like I could be wrong, but like when George was creating the idea for a sequel trilogy with Maul and Darth Talon, right? I think the whole scantily clad thing was something that just kind of ended up happening in EU when it was eventually adopted. I really doubt that that's something that George actually would have done.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is that people who, people who might be upset that she's not scantily clad in canon, you don't really need to be listening to them anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and when you say, when people go like, we're getting George's Star Wars back. George doesn't have any more Star Wars, okay? He stopped writing it, so like there's no more of that. This is like, what I will say is that this is good. I really like this because you had kind of confirmed, or just you had already said this, that in the interview, like Dave and Sam were talking about how like they're kind of bringing back up some old George stuff that like he had wrote in like his last vestiges of wanting to still write about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I do think that this is a really kind of endearing way to just make it, I don't know, make George's final aspirations at least come a little bit true.
Yeah.
And I think that for who Darth Talon was as a character in her interpretations in the EU, as far as I am aware, really the most of what we knew about her in the EU was that, she was just kind of like Darth's sex appeal, right?
Yeah.
And that's not good, especially like this day and age. And it's not interesting either. It's boring.
Yeah.
From
what we know, she was just kind of she always kind of reminded me of like Harley Quinn, where she was like, hey, she's kind of crazy, she's a killer, but she's hot. You know, like that's what it was, right? And she's second wing to like the main bad guy being Darth Krayt, you know? Yeah.
And again, like that is where I think Harley Quinn is interpreted poorly in like those iterations of stories. Like this is really tangential. I'm just gonna say, for instance, I love Batman Arkham City as a game. It doesn't interpret Harley Quinn very well.
No,
I really don't think so. I think that they make her kind of a chump. But you know, I guess she was a chump in her first appearance. But well, whatever. Yeah. Regardless, I think that this could be a great opportunity to introduce the character of Talon to canon, but in a way that actually makes her an endearing and lovable character.
Right.
In the scenario that this is her, which like, come on. If it's not her, it's like a canon version of her. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's like I mean, to be honest, like it's kind of like, I don't know, this feels like the Ship of Theseus sort of thing of like, at what point does it like become a different character? And it's like, honestly, what I am taking at is it is a nod to the character that George based his version of Talon on, if that makes sense. Like it's like because Talon in the EU is like 100+ years after Return of the Jedi. Obviously, this is a year after Revenge of the Sith. Big time difference there. So in that aspect, it's not really the same. And George wanted also the same thing of it to be after Return of the Jedi, but because he wanted Maul to come back as the main villain, of course, there was no way they were going to do that. Maul is currently dead. So having him there and like at least when we get to Return of the Jedi, he dead. And so I'm like, I think this is a cool concept, and they may not even call her Talon. It could just be of like a very loose adaptation of a concept, you know?
Well, to be honest, this could be a very interesting way of kind of spiritually adapting this story because, Talon, as she seems to be in this, is very young. And so it wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to set up her presence later on, in like the, past Return of the Jedi.
Dude,
I could
her versus
totally
Rey, bro.
Her versus Ahsoka, like that.
Dave Filoni's like,
there's so many opportunities here. Yeah. I could have. I mean, oh man, her versus Sabine. Like if Sabine really gets trained up, that could be really interesting.
That would be
That could be really cool. That could be super cool. Either way, she's not in. She's not with Maul in Rebels era. Maul's really down on his luck when we see him on Malachor.
Yeah.
And so something happens that makes whatever this relationship is fall away.
Yeah.
It is kind of true to Maul's character though that everybody leaves him eventually, one way or another.
Either they die or they depart.
Yeah, except the last person who stayed with him till the end. Obi Kenobi. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's cool. There's also something else that we could mention, but
oh yeah, the first brother, Marak.
Yeah,
Alleged?
oh yeah, he did get confirmed as the first brother now.
Yeah, he's the first brother. Listen, I love when Maul fights Inquisitors. Okay, so I'm gonna say one of my favorite concepts about Maul is I love Maul when he is Palpatine's apprentice, but I just love seeing him be like this. It's such a unique idea of like, oh, he was an excommunicated dark side user. He has been thrown away by Palpatine, and yes, he still ascribes to a lot of those beliefs, but he doesn't follow the code of the Sith anymore. You know, he still embraces a lot of those ideas, but he doesn't need to do that anymore. So getting to see dark side user on dark side user clashing, which because apparently at the very end of the trailer is Marak versus Maul on some like train car or something, and I'm like, listen, inject it into my veins. I literally don't care. That is so sick.
It's just very exciting. I have a feeling this is how Marak dies. But we will see. Also, I don't know why I'm just now kind of connecting it in my brain, but as we recall, I don't remember his name. Is it the eighth brother or whatever? He in Rebels he calls Maul the Shadow, and so in this series Maul is the Shadow Lord. So yeah, it's just very cool, very cool.
By the way, would highly recommend if you want to whet your appetite for a Darth Maul in the criminal underworld. Yes, it is not canon. Darth Maul Shadowhunter. It is narrated by Sam Witwer on Audible. It is so cool, dude. And it came out in like 2001 or 2. So like maybe like a couple years after Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace. But it has a lot of those similar concepts, and so because it's, I mean, I just naturally it clicks in my mind of like Shadow Hunter, Shadow Lord. I mean, even down to like, I think what is the name of his organization pre Crimson Dawn is called
Shadow Collective.
Yep.
Yep. He's all about the shadows, right?
I Will messaged me earlier today, and he was just like, oh yeah, because he forgot in the Rebels they're like, the Shadow, he lives, you know. And I'm like, yeah, bro, because at that point, like, that was such a crazy inclusion in Rebels back like 10 years ago or whatever, when they were like, they threw in Maul, and you're like, Maul is alive 14 years later, like, and he's like truly this
still
hermit.
kicking.
He's still kicking. He's old, but you know, he's what is the skin in Battlefront 2 called for him? It's like Old Master, right?
Old Master, yeah.
He had to get like 500 kills as a hero. It was
Call me Old Master.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So, and Sam Witwer does such a good dialect for that.
Call me Job.
Call me Job. I can't believe I didn't get that joke. Anyway, that's all the thoughts I have on. I almost called it Maul Shadowhunter. Maul Shadow Lord. It's such a cool name. The logo, by the way, like the title, like.
Yeah.
Give me the merch. I will buy the merch.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of potential there, because like we don't really know what the show is about. I mean, other than like just kind of his escapades in the underworld. Yeah. And there's so much that you can see in this era. So who knows what's gonna appear. Hopefully another Republic Commando I get to see or something. I don't know.
Boss has to hunt down.
Yes!
And he gets his head chopped off.
No!
I mean, listen, I love Boss, but that is what would happen.
You don't know. Maybe he'll find a way.
Hey, yeah, we should pull the stat blocks for them in Force and Destiny and just run a fight between them. You know, just put it.
We'll run a simulation. Honestly, like they just keep putting Maul and stuff so that they can show him getting beaten up by people. So
this might be the one where he gets the win a little bit. You know, like
I hope so. It's his
Inquisitors.
show.
This is the second episode in a row, by the way, we've done slam dunk jokes. We did it. Anyway,
let's say we aim for 100.
It's our shtick. We should talk about Andor.
Well. If we haven't come to the actual main part of the episode, pretty much an hour in, by the way.
Yes, for people that are skipping ahead, obviously I put a timestamp here. So I'm gonna give the last 3 episode recap. I'm gonna do it in kind of a weird roundabout way where I'm going to recap the first episode because it kind of feels it's a little bit more standalone, and then I'm going to recap the last two together.
Okay.
My memory might fail me a little bit here because, again, some of these events bleed over, but we're going to start off with episode 10, One Way Out. We open back on Narkina 5 with Cassian basically trying to still plead to Kino of like, we need to do this. Like, and Kino's kind of freaking out, like doesn't know what to do. And he's like, we need to do it tomorrow. They're bringing in a new guy. This is our opportunity. I would rather die than let them win or get the way that get their way. Which from what I understand, he picked that quote up from Luthen earlier in the show, which I don't remember him saying, but would make sense. I was listening. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like in their conversation when he first gets onto the Fondor, and then Kino takes that as well.
Yes. Yep. So it's the passing of the torch, like Andor or Cassian being this fire that's letting it spread. But anyways, that is that's kind of what's happening. And I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that they plan out their escape, and I'm not gonna do the play-by-play, but through some very clever and extremely tense means, they flood the floor. They start throwing stuff at the guards as the prison transfer happens, and they run a riot in this prison, and chanting "One Way Out." They get to the comm center, and Kino gives this beautiful speech, which Cassian, number one hype man, just had to be like, dude, it has to be you, you know,
has
like
to be you.
Yeah, which is just phenomenal. And they are they break out of the prison in this just wonderful fashion, to the point where they get out, they get to the top, and they're all climbing, and they're jumping out into the water, and Kino says, can't swim, and Cassian's like, what?
Can't swim.
He says, I can't swim, and Cassian is abruptly knocked into the water by some of the other escaping prisoners. And him and Melshi end up swimming and making it to the shore and running and evading on the planet of Narkina. But what I will say is that there's a little bit of other things happening. I don't think we get a ton, if really at all, Mon Mothma. Oh, we do get one Mon Mothma moment in this episode where she is met with Davos Golden, the banker that has some questionable means. And she meets with him, and she's like, how much money do you want to be able to do this for me? She clearly does not like it. Yeah, he's like, I don't want anything. I actually just want to visit back. And she's like, okay, we can do that. And she's like, he's like, I've got a 14-year-old son. Your daughter's 13. I'd like to have an introduction. And she's like, absolutely not. There's no way that is happening, because of course we know Chandrila culture, the traditions, that they're very much arranged marriages are the predominant thing.
Which is something Mon Mothma does not want for her child.
She does not.
But what Mon Mothma's child wants for herself.
Yes, we get that in the next couple episodes. That Leda Mothma is very much all about the traditions, and whether she actually loves it or she's doing it to spite her mother is unclear. But either way, she is very passionate about these traditions, which, from what I understand, according to the dialogue, are more popular on Coruscant than they actually are back home. Which is a cool little detail. But yeah, so Davos Golden's like, all right, I'll let you think on it. She's like, I'm not thinking about it at all. And he's like, that's the first untrue thing you've said this entire meeting. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, just gotta interject in here before I forget. Davos Golden, very cool character. I kind of want to see a little bit more of him.
Potentially in Shadow Lord. That could be neat.
That would be crazy. Anyway, that'd be really cool. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit.
That could be a cool little thing.
Yeah. The kind of crucial piece of the puzzle for One Way Out is with Luthen. We get this, some of the Anto Krieger stuff is happening and moving around. But we know they hear that one of their contacts that they have not heard from in a year wants to meet with Luthen. So we end up finding out that it is actually Lonnie, the mustached, thin hair, Imperial Security Bureau plant. We find out he's actually within the ISB on behalf of Luthen, and he's trying to get in contact with them, and he's like, listen, I've got this info. They know about the raid on Spellhouse. They know about Anto Krieger. I'm warning you so that you can stop them. And Luthen's like, That's not going to happen because if they hear something, then they're going to think something is up. If they win, they're going to think they're invincible. I'm not letting that happen. And Lonnie's like, okay, well, that's pretty stupid of you, but also I want out. Like, I want out of the rebellion. I'm giving you this as a parting gift. He doesn't say that, but that's what he means. He's like, I have a kid now. I didn't know what it would feel like. I want out. Of course, we get the beautiful segue into Lonnie asking, what does Luthen sacrifice? And he's like, what do I sacrifice? Of course, I'm not going to recite the whole speech here, but if you know, you know. And it is
Lonnie triggered Luthen for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Luthen.
What'd you say?
And part of me was like, did Luthen I think Luthen had been thinking about that for a long time. And he says to Lonnie, he's like, you're not gonna leave. Like, we need heroes like you, Lonnie.
You'll stay with me, Lonnie, because I need all the heroes I can get.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great moment where it cuts to Cassian and Melshi escaping.
Yeah.
And that's really what happens in episode 10. Most of it is the Narkina escape stuff. Now we're gonna move on to episode 11 and 12. This is really just the convergence of characters. Cassian and Melshi are getting off the planet. They take this quadjumper from these aliens, and they end up going back to Neamos, where Cassian gets his money and he gets his blaster, and he tries to reach out to Ferrix. We find out on Ferrix that Marva has passed. She was not doing well, and that she passed, and they're preparing a funeral. All of the people are there, and this, like I said, this convergence. All of the major players are catching wind that Marva has died, and people don't know where Cassian's at. Nobody knew that he got put in this prison, but they're expecting him to return home. And whether that is Cyril learning from Sergeant Mosk, whether that's Dedra hearing about it from obviously her control on Ferrix and the city, with Luthen and Clea hearing about it as well, because they need to kill him to cut that loose end. Cinta and Vel, same thing. They're trying to kill him on behalf of Luthen. I think the only really person that doesn't really matter in this equation is Mon Mothma, because she's currently trying to weigh the reality of should she try to introduce Leia to this boy, because that is the way that she can get what she wants, to be able to transfer these funds around and conceal it from the Empire. That's really what's happening. When Cassian reaches out to Ferrix, he talks to I believe it's Zanwan is his name, and he finds out from Zanwan that Marva has passed, and Cassian and Melshi end up splitting up to they're like, more people need to know about this. We have to do something. Would be better to split up. So Cassian, of course, returns home, and this is when we get the funeral for Marva, and all of the major players are here. The night before, we get this beautiful scene with, of course, with Nimic's manifesto, and how that ties to this again. I've been regurgitating a little bit since I've been watching the show of the brewing rebellion within one's soul. That's something that you said, and it resonates in my mind a lot. And everybody is here. They're prepared. The funeral ends up happening sooner than the Imperials planned. Cyril, like, this whole thing happens. Marva has this beautiful speech and basically is like, we've been sleeping, fight the Empire. And of course it causes this crazy stir, this massive riot of the people of Ferrix versus the Imperials. Dedra gets caught up in it. We have some casualties of war in the midst of it. During this, Cassian breaks Bix out of the hotel that she had been held captured in during the chaos. Cassian finds out that Luthen is there, and he's like, okay, Luthen's definitely trying to kill me. And it's just all out chaos. But in the end, Brasso Bix, I'm forgetting his name, but I believe it is Pax's son, the kid that creates like the pipe bomb. And then one of the chief daughters of Ferrix, as well as B2 Emo, end up getting, they take a ship to get off of Ferrix, and Cassian's like, I'll come find you. Dedra is kind of brought into the chaos by some of the rioters, but Cyril actually ends up saving her. Did you find the name? I saw you looked it up.
Yeah. So Pack is Salman Pack, and his son is Wilman Pack.
Okay, so Pack is their last name. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Keep that pulled up because I have a question regarding that, so you can just pull up Salman Pack because I have a question about him. But yeah, so we get this breakout. All of them, like I said, the characters that I listed, they end up leaving. Cyril saves Dedra. It's unclear what happens exactly to Cinta and Vel, but I'm going to assume they get out of there as well. From what I remember, we don't exactly know. And Cassian's like,
they're fine.
They're probably fine. Cassian's like, I got to go deal with something. And he goes and before he deals with that, I'm going to flash back a little bit. Before all of this happens, we have a couple of crucial scenes with Luthen. This is before the funeral, so I forgot about this part. Where Luthen does end up going to Saw Gerrera's hideout on Segra Milo, and he's like, and Saw's like, I'll do it, I'll give air support, but it's my rules or whatever. And Luthen's like, you're not doing that. It's like, and he's like, why? Well, you were so insistent on it. And he was like, they know if we tip them off, then it risks jeopardizing us all. We have to give them this win because again, they will feel invincible. And of course, Saw speculates him of being ISB, and he was like, if I was ISB, why wouldn't I give them to you, or give you to them as well? And of course, we also get this amazing scene where, and also the attack on Spellhouse does happen, and the ISB is led to believe that Krieger was possibly the one that Bix got Cassian in contact with. So they think it's like this big win. But then that, of course, leads into the funeral. But we get that awesome scene with Luthen and the Fondor Hullcraft being pulled in by the Cantwell class arrestor cruiser.
Oh yeah. He gets to show off all the gadgets.
This with the beautiful Fondor Hullcraft. Anyway, back to the very end, we get Cassian finding where Luthen put the Hullcraft. Well, he didn't find it. He actually was waiting for Luthen to show back up, and he basically is like, "You came here to kill me. Do it then. Kill me. Either kill me or take me in."
Or
and Luthen, and Luthen's like, gives this little smile. But the last thing that we have to deal with is Mon Mothma, of course, and yes, she does ultimately, begrudgingly decide to allow an introduction between Skulden's son and her daughter. And one last thing about Mon Mothma, we find out that Perrin is actually gambling again, which is going to cause some also problems for them, because it's going to make them even look more suspicious with the money stuff, and she is, of course, not a fan of Perrin.
Well, actually, I believe how the scene goes. I guess we're done with the recap now, so we can start yapping. I actually believe how the scene goes. The driver is an ISB plant.
Clovis, I believe his name is, or Chloris.
Perrin, as I understand it, is not gambling again. What Mon Mothma is trying to do is to make it look like that's where all the money's going.
Oh.
She's trying to...
But is Perrin in on it then?
No, he's not. He is not. Definitely not.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, so like, she knows that the ISB agent is listening, right? Mm-hmm. And so what she does is that she's like, Clovis, could we have some privacy, please? And then he's like, of course. And he pretends to press something, but he still has the audio coming through, and he's clearly listening. And she is very loudly going, you have to be gambling again because I don't know where else all the money is going. And Perrin's like, I'm not gambling again. Someone is lying to you, you know?
Yeah.
But it makes sense because their relationship is already tumultuous. So Mon Mothma was being smart. She's trying to put in some
I didn't
covers.
pick up on that. That's really not okay.
Huh. So that stuff's really interesting. I just like on the same page here. Genevieve O'Reilly, like the acting for Mon Mothma is really, really good, especially when like she is trying not to like burst into tears over the idea of like essentially like giving her daughter away. Right, of like subjecting her daughter to the same pain that she knows she's gonna have like later on in life, which is exactly what happens with her and Perrin. It's like it's a different level of emotion, like different from the Luthen story or the Cassian story in this, but it's still really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of people really like the Cassian stuff and the Luthen stuff, but I tell you, I am so excited for the Mon Mothma stuff in season 2. I really am.
I just have to say, first of all, I have loved rewatching this season. Andor
me too.
is 10 out of 10 television.
Yeah,
We've always been certified Andor glazers. I put
Happy
another
to be
glaze on top, baby. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like,
double glaze.
yeah, like
Hot to go.
I'm like, run that through the Krispy Kreme machine again because Andor
I was
is
also
so.
thinking Krispy Kreme.
Anyway, Krispy Kreme.
Sponsor. Just kidding.
Andor, I said Krispy Kreme is so good. That is also true.
Can't wait for Krispy Kreme season 2.
No, Andor, I cannot wait for season 2. And I know this feels almost like at the end of the episode that we would say this, but I just have to get it off my chest. I'm going to go ahead and say the very last scene with Cassian and Luthen, I don't remember that scene at all.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, where do these characters leave off? Because like the final episode is so chaotic, and I was truly like, I don't really remember where all these characters leave off. Like, I don't remember where Dedra and Cyril leave off. I don't remember where all of the Ferrix people end up going, who survives, who doesn't. And I was like, I don't remember what happened to the Cassian either. I'm like, because obviously Ferrix is like, they can't go back there now. So maybe when they win against the Empire one day, and that would be a beautiful and very sad ending to have of like them going back to Ferrix. And okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say I heard this great theory of after like Rogue One, we get a scene of like it's cut, like goes right into Rogue One and it cuts and it's of them making a brick for Cassian and Ferrix.
Come on!
Yeah, no! and I was like, I heard it was gonna be like that it actually ends up being Cassian's sister. And she's back at Ferrix and she understands the culture and what he did, and they end up putting a brick in. Dude,
that makes me feel very emotional.
Yeah.
So I hate that theory in a good way.
It hurts, man. But that's just my little rant on how good this is. I have several notes, but regarding episode 10 specifically, like with the escape from the prison complex, just how is you get Luthen's speech and that in the same episode?
What an incredible episode, honestly. I think like that's gotta be one of my favorite bits of the score, when like at the very end when they're escaping and you see the top down shot of like them all swimming out of the prison. It's like the way that the music just kind of like swells. It feels kind of like Blade Runner-esque, but like in a hopeful sort of way. Really, really powerful stuff. And also like just, dude, Kino's speech, especially of when he says like, if you see someone who's confused, like someone who kind of lost their way, like help them out, help each other. Because, he's kind of thinking about like individuals like Olaf who were really getting old, like too old to do virtually anything, right?
Yes. When they're all going through the prison, and they're like help each other out, like we can like do this together. Yeah, it's,
no man left behind sort of thing.
Dude, that scene when all of the Imperials are hiding behind the door gives me so much joy, where I'm like, this is what it feels like, to be and that was one of the biggest things is what Cassian was pushing is like, they're afraid. They don't have enough people that's why they're getting scared. That's why they fried 100 people, because they were afraid of what would happen if the information got out.
Well, that was his convincing point to Kino. He was like, it has to be now, because they are going to like upgrade their staff. There's going to be more. If we don't do it now, we're never going to get out.
Dude,
because
one of my favorite
they only
moments,
have so much time.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments is also, which is great, is when that new guy comes in. He's not even part of the plan, and he just
immediately starts swinging.
He's like, and he goes down. But like, what a G, bro! Like, I mean, and I'm sure he was also probably not really sure what was going on in that moment. But also, I'm blanking on his name, but he's like the guy that him and Cassian were the ones kind of chipping away at the tube or the metal pipe. I don't remember if he was given a name. I think they say his name one time, like very briefly, very offhand. But man, that guy was a G as well. I loved that guy, and I'm dude. When some of them like
he got killed too.
Zal, I think Zal gets shot. I think
he goes down.
Yeah, like a couple of the guys. I don't think we ever see Jimbok go down. I don't think we ever see.
I think he jumps. I think you see him jump, but I don't know what happens to him after that.
Okay.
I think he's one of the first people to jump. He's like, what do I have? And then he jumps.
Yeah. What is the guy that does like the sign language between the tubes? I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, I think he dies though, doesn't he?
What?
Does he get shot?
All those, man. I know the red-haired guy does get shot. I think that's Saul.
He gets shot. It's after he throws like a wrench or something. Something like that. He gets shot. One thing that I really thought it's very in character for Cassian. So like at the beginning with the Corpo guys in Morlano, like when he points the gun at the Corpos, he's like, "Tell me what to do," you know. But then in the prison, he points his gun at the guys controlling the stuff, and he's like, "On program." Like,
yes, dude. I was about to. It's so good, dude.
Yeah,
oh,
it's very Cassian. Like he just, if any moment he gets, he's just like, like, tell me what to do one more time. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, he's. I mean, it even connects to the line of him saying to Nimic, like, "Do I look thankful to you?" sort of thing. Like he's just. Yeah. Cassian has that bite to him, and there's a quote that I have here. I'm trying to remember. I think it's in episode. Yes, in episode 3, when Brasso is speaking to. Sorry, episode. I say episode 12. Episode 3 of these 3 episodes. When Brasso and Cassian meet up again. In that tunnel, but like the day before the funeral, and he's like, you take care of Bix, I'll take care of Marva. He's reciting back to Cassian what Marva last said, and there's a specific part that I quote here that she says like, he will be an unstoppable force for good, and I was like, bro.
Man, okay, but well, for one thing in that scene, I was like, man, I wish I had Brasso's memory because I would have not remembered that unless I was like, wait, can you say that again? Just like, write it down.
I love Brasso, dude.
He's real. Okay, I'm just gonna, when he takes the brick and smacks the guy, and he's
dude.
like, he just screams. Yeah, he puts like so much energy into that. Like seeing the citizens of Ferrix rise up against the Imperials and like just start fighting is just so wonderful. Also, we finally got a confirmation. I don't know if you already knew this, but I thought that like this was just untrue for a while. Marva actually does say F the Empire. And I didn't know that. Like I thought that people were just kind of stretching. She does say that, and it got changed.
Yes.
And they didn't like change the her lip movements, so you can. Oh, still
really?
See it. Yeah, she still says it. But
I think that would have been a little like, as much as I think it's funny. I do think "Fight the Empire" is applicable because I think that would have taken a lot of people out of the universe. People would like. Well,
it's like when Mosk says when he says the first S word in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it still would have been. Yeah, F the Empire,
Yeah, and the concept still applies, but I like that literally when she says "Fight the Empire," like that is when they literally like they start fighting.
It's very well. It's like it's really when that one officer is like, enough, and he throws the cape over B2EMO, and then when he flips him over, that's when Brasso's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. You don't touch B2EMO. That's something I wanted to bring up. I love how much respect the people have for B2EMO as like a person,
When
he's just so sad.
He's grieving over Marva, and he's completely nonverbal, and he's like, if you want to be alone with her, like they're about to take her away, and he's like, I don't want to be alone, I want Marva. And I'm like, and I know there's this theory going around that like B2 is going to become K2. I just don't think that's going to happen. They just are way too different of droids. I think if B2 is a very unique droid, and honestly, I don't think I appreciate it as much until I rewatched this season, where I'm like, man, I like you said, I really do love how much Brasso indulges in B2's grief of Marva. You know, like B2's a very special and very unique droid.
Yeah, I mean he's he like Marva. I don't know. I'm not gonna say he was like a pet, because he wasn't. He was more like a just a true companion.
Yeah.
Honestly, it reminds me of R2's characterization in the Revenge of the Sith novelization.
Oh yeah. What was it that? Like there's the line where he's just like, I don't know, like Anakin doesn't talk to me anymore, sort of thing.
It's a scene in Padme when Anakin gets back to Padme's apartment. I think it's after the Jedi Temple massacre. And C-3PO is like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And R2 goes like, "Yeah, I don't know. Anakin doesn't talk to me anymore," which is really sad. Yeah. That makes me really sad. Like, just he doesn't talk to him. Like, I'm imagining R2, like he's probably asking him questions. R2 is a professional yapper. We all know that. Like, I'm imagining him like asking questions to Anakin. He just doesn't respond. Like, imagine that in the Clone Wars animation version. That would make me very upset.
Yeah.
Anyway, like
another example with R2. Sorry, I didn't mean to get, but like when Leia dies, like there's like he gives this just sad like.
When Luke disappears, he essentially goes into idle mode. Like he goes into sleep mode the whole time. He's R2 gets very, very down in the dumps. And like I get it. I would be upset too, especially with everything I knew, like everything he knows at that time.
Right.
But like, yeah, for B2 Emo, like it was very sweet, especially when like he didn't want to leave Marva's home.
Yeah.
And Brasso's like, you know, like, come with me. We'll go back to my place, because I'm gonna look after you now. And B2M was like, just want, like, I want to stay. And Brasso, like, he eventually goes, one night, all right. And just the amount of respect for that. So yeah, I'm in agreement about how I don't want B2 Emo and K2SO to be the same character.
Yeah.
I think that it would be better to keep them two unique, different droids in Cassian's life, because that would explain like just how much Cassian cares for K, because he already has a strong attachment to droids and like shows respect to them because of B2 Emo. Hopefully B2 Emo stays safe. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's my thing, is like I'm worried for the future of Bix and Brasso and all of them, and I want them to be happy and safe. And honestly, like if Cassian's sacrifice allows them to live on, then that would make me very, very happy. And I think you would be willing. You would be, you know, we keep hearing from Diego Luna and Tony Gilroy, like when you watch Rogue One after you finish Andor season 2, you'll view it in a completely different way. And my thought process is, I'm like, you know, what if it is like what his actions that actually maybe allows them to live on, you know, and maybe it's Brasso and Bix that are putting that brick in on one of the walls of Ferrix, you know, like
it's B2 Emo doing it. It's made me so sad.
Gosh. A final message from Cassian with B2.
Oh yeah, that would be wow. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. That would wreck me, dude.
Yeah, dude, that would Wreck-It Ralph me full time. Like, I would be very upset. I think you had brought up Bix, so like I thought that I would mention something that's just like very, very endearing. Very endearing to me is that when Cassian, like when they're all in the ship and Cassian's like he tells one, like the daughter of Ferrix, the lady, to, you know, go this far, go as fast as you can, and like as soon as you get to this point, like start climbing or something like that. And he's like, I will find you. I'll find you. You know, don't worry about it. I will find you. And then as he's about to leave, Bix like finally speaks, and she says, "It's okay. Like Cassian will find us."
Yes.
And like, yeah, he will.
Yeah.
He some one way or another he will.
Like,
that's very sweet.
Bix just like not being in her, like just being so depraved, I guess. In that fight, there's another moment that I think is really sweet, is when the funeral march is happening, which is just, by the way, just so good. And she's looking out the window and she's kind of humming to herself, you know. I'm like, oh, like that makes me like sad, dude, because it's just like she's been stuck in there and yet she's still admiring like this funeral for Marva and the culture of it. It's I love so many of these characters so much more on a second watch, you know, of like, oh my gosh, just these are such a great cast of characters, and both heroes and villains, but specifically the people of Ferrix, like with I'm gonna call it, I forget his name, but with Pac Jr. And
Wilman Pac.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That reminds me. So, does his father die? Why? Whatever happened to him? Because he got drug out of this prison cell, and we never see him again. Do they say he died?
Oh my god! I totally forgot about this line. It's terrible. It's terrible. So you remember that guy with the black cape that's like enough, and he throws like the cape over B2 Emo?
Yeah.
So when like when they drag like Pac away or whatever, the last time that Dedra comes to Ferrix, that guy is like what shall we do with Pac? And then she's like, you know, whatever you want to do with him. And then he's basically like, excellent, I would like to hang him in the square.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Which is by the way, exactly what happens to Clem.
Yep.
And yes, so he is hanged. So yeah, and so you know that prompts his son, Wilman Pac, what a G, to make a bomb. So,
bro, a bomb that makes like a bunch of other bombs go off, which was insane.
Yeah, so I one of the things that I've always remembered ever since seeing season 1 for the first time is Wilman's, I'm sure you'll know it as soon as I say it, like the one shot of Wilman's face as like he's looking up to Marva's hologram.
Yep.
And he is filled with like so much anger and grief.
Yep.
That like, I don't know, it encapsulates just kind of that wrathful spirit that drives a large part of the rebellion.
Yeah.
It's one of the many things that continues to make me like, you know, watch the show and go like, yeah, I'm angry, I'm agitated, you know?
Yeah, I mean, his father was just like killed for like the stupidest reason, dude, and it's like
for nothing.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think we're gonna get more of him in season 2, from what I know, at least. I wouldn't see why we wouldn't.
Well, he went in the ship, you know, so
yeah.
Because Brasso saved him, he was like, "Come with me, man. You're in big trouble.
Yeah,
like they are gonna come after you."
Yeah, they put up a good fight. But speaking of fights during that whole thing, focusing on the Cassian and Bix stuff, dude. First of all, we get the Death Troopers back. But dude, when Cassian jumps that corner and just one shot into the Death Trooper's neck and it just falls out, I was like, woo! I was like, that was clean, dude. That was a straight up role in Edge of the Empire, because that's like straight up a thing you can 100%. You can do a dive and shoot, and it like if I were to run it, I would be like, okay, you'll get like an accuracy, so you'll get like a setback die because you're moving and you're jumping, but you'll get a boost because you're surprising him, you know. And maybe I'll give like another, like a situational boost if you choose to aim or something like that, which I guess is what Cassian was doing. And that was anyway.
He crit. He crit. He made a critical injury.
Oh yeah,
like,
he got a triumph right there. Bam, just done. And the Death Trooper just.
That does bring up a point that I was like, oh, that's interesting. That like Dedra has moved up in the ladder enough to be accompanied by Death Troopers.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting, you know?
Yeah, because Death Troopers, the only times I can think is obviously with Krennic, and Krennic's task force. We see them with Thrawn. Yeah. We might see them with Tarkin at some point. I don't fully remember, not off the top of my head, but I want to say at one point or another, Tarkin has had Death Troopers. But yeah, Dedra might be either the third or the fourth.
I don't know.
Big deal. Big deal. And
I'm a big deal in the Resistance.
Big deal in the Resistance. Yeah. When also the moment when she flies into Ferrix the night before the funeral, I just want to say that like seeing an Imperial shuttle gives, because that was like I think the first time we saw an Imperial shuttle in the whole show, like a classic, Emperor Palpatine walking out of the like.
And she looked good. I love the sound effects for Imperial shuttles, man.
Yeah, and they have such a certain, and I don't mean this in like a meme way, but like such a menacing aura to them. Where like I was like, oh my gosh, like there's something about seeing a high level Imperial officer or bureaucrat in an Imperial shuttle. Oh man, it's just seeing her flying and land on the outskirts of Ferrix.
At night, right?
Yeah.
I think it might have been storming too. Like there was a storm brewing or something like that.
Yeah, because the storm happens when it's all that one night when Nimic's manifesto is playing and Cassian's in the old ship reading it, and it's oh my gosh, it
carries like this gravitas of just malice with it, and you just know that like some bad dude is gonna walk out of there,
Yeah, Dedra is so Imperial coded, it's crazy. Like just everything about her, I'm like, you are such a hardcore Imperial, and I think I love that about her character, man.
She's deadly efficient. I go so far as to say that like she's definitely one of the best Imperials out there as far as like being able to do her job.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, like once again, Andor does a very good job at like demonstrating that these are humans. Mm-hmm. And so when the fight breaks out, Dedra starts getting like attacked by a crowd.
Yes.
Right? And like she struggles to grab her blaster, completely fumbles it, right? Mm-hmm. She's saved by Cyril, but she's very, very scared. Like all of the delusions of grandeur that she had was gone. She was turned into a very small person when brought up against the citizens of Ferrix. And I'm wondering if that will have any lasting effect or impact on her, good or bad. We'll see.
I mean, it was when she's like hyperventilating. It's very reminiscent of in that second trailer when she's having like she looks like somebody was saying that she's being force choked. Like,
good catch.
Yeah, so I'm like, is this gonna have like some psychological damage to her? Of like the
it
fear
would
of
to
the
me.
rebellion? Oh yeah,
I'd be like, I'm a little spooked right now.
Right. Yeah. No. She gets absolutely swarmed by these people on Ferrix, and honestly, like, I gotta give props to Cyril. Like he kind of came in clutch. Like I was not expecting someone of his caliber to be able to do something like that, of like disguise himself as one of those people and then happen to save her.
Yeah, I mean I don't know how she's gonna take that. I don't know how where their kind of dynamic is gonna go from there. I'm assuming he's just abandoning Mosk, perhaps, because Mosk was just sitting like on the side, like drinking from a flask. I feel kind of bad for the guy.
I kind of love him. I kind of want to give him a hug.
Yeah, a little bit. Like he just kind of seems like a bro, but in like a corporate stingy bureaucrat sort of way.
yeah. Like this, like he's just trying to. I don't know. I feel bad for him though.
He has values. Man has values.
I mean, he's the one that came in clutch for Cyril to be there in the first place. So.
He's strangely loyal. Like he handed the orange cap to Cyril, right?
Oh yeah, when they swap caps or whatever, and that's so great. Before I forget it, I want to divert because again we talked about it a little bit in the beginning and like how people do love these scenes, but specifically, I need more Luthen and Saw scenes.
Yeah, I was hoping you were gonna bring that up.
Yeah, dude. The scene on Segra Milo when he goes to be like, do not go with Krieger, you will die. Yeah. Like, we have to let this happen. We have to sacrifice these men is one of my favorite scenes in the show because I loved how similar Luthen and Saw are, yet that causes them to clash, but that also causes them to understand one another. And I think I have a line here. It's Luthen. He says, "You're the." I think he calls. Yeah. Luthen says to Saw, "You're the random factor in the whole thing." And then right after they're like, Saw says for the greater good, and he's like, call it what you want, and he's like, let's call it war.
Let's call it war. That's
Forrest Whitaker. I
had that pulled up.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
so. Yeah, so I 100% agree. Both that scene and the scene a couple episodes before that. Again, like Saw. Well, I mean, honestly, all of them here, but these scenes get to show us the different ways in which the rebellion manifests, and Saw is like that very radicalized form of it. So much so that like I really love Saw's characterization of like how paranoid he is. Because like when Luthen tells him like about how the ISB knows about Anto Krieger, like you can see Saw like start to look around and he's like, how do you know about this? Are you ISB? Do you have someone in ISB? And like Luthen's like, I can't answer that. And then Saw's like, do you have someone here? Do you have an agent here? And then Luthen's like, it's Tubes. He's been my guy this whole time. And Tubes is like, whoa. Because like, you know that Saw, like if he believed that, you immediately just pop. So like, that's very, very dangerous. But Luthen was actually playing a very, very smart game. And Tubes like gets up to it, and then Luthen takes the pistol.
Yep. Slick with it.
It's funny too, because Tubes is like, oh. He's like, he got me.
So great. And then he points it right at Saw's face and he's like, maybe this will get you to listen to me. You know what I'm like?
And he does, because like Saw was very quickly going down the paranoia ladder. Very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And he does that. He cascades because he gets worse and worse and worse. Weirdly, he has a moment of clarity in his final moments in Rogue One. But like,
it's funny you say that the clarity thing, because he's the one in the previous episode where he's just like, I have clarity of purpose.
Clarity of purpose.
Yeah, and yet,
and then Luthen's just like,
I cannot wait to get more Saw in season 2, because like I said last week, or on the last episode, that Saw is, despite his flaws, one of my favorite and most interesting characters, and to see how he will be part of Andor season 2 and hopefully more dynamics with Luthen, because I doubt, because there's no way that Saw and Cassian would interact pre-Rogue One. Because Cassian did not know Saw and Saw did not know him.
I really don't think, because like one of the things that he chiefly says to Jin is like, he essentially just says like, what, when was your last contact with Saw Gerrera? He might agree to meet you maybe as a friend. I mean, like, unless they were in extremely bad on extremely bad terms, I really doubt that they've met. I would assume at some point in time during season 2, Cassian would have certainly heard about him. Absolutely. But yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces there. And yeah, I'm very excited to see Saw, because this might be the last time we see him in live action. I mean, I don't know when we would see him again. If we do, fantastic. But I don't know when the last time would be.
Yeah, like truly like in live action, I mean, the only other thing I could think of him showing up is like the third Jedi game, if he shows up in that.
Yeah, but like live action wise, Forrest Whitaker as Saw is just really good. And you get to see him strut his stuff because he is less ill as he is in Rogue One. And like, even though he does a great job in Rogue One, I think that he's just really like, he's just kind of really out of it. So
because wasn't the indication, I don't have to confirm or deny this or not, but I'm pretty sure wasn't the whole thing that like what causes his health was actually what like happened on Geonosis, like when he goes with like the Rebels crew, that like
I've heard
toxins. I've heard. Okay. I don't remember if we ever see that or not, but I remember in Rebels, which is kind of along the same, like when these next these next 12 episodes of Andor that we get, part of that will be in the same timeline as like Rebels in what we see him in season 3.
I mean, there's like several years that pass in season 2, so it could happen virtually any time. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like I don't know, you see him in one episode and then in the next one there's like an offline that's like, man, you hear Saul blew up? Like, what happened?
I hear, I mean, there's a guy, bigger creator, Mace Windu. I remember he made a video years ago about like how Saul keeps like his hair like keeps going back between being bald and then having like his like crazy unkempt hair, and like because it's like you'll see him in Bad Batch and he'll have like a full head of hair. Clone Wars and Bad Batch, he has a full head of hair. You see him in Fallen Order and then he's bald. But then you see him in Andor and he's got a full head of hair again. And then you see him in Rebels and he's bald again. And then you see him in Rogue One and he's got hair again. So
dude, he's got crazy hair growth. I mean, I don't know what he does, but like, cool. I mean, it's I'm taking it as like a Obi-Wan and Tales of the Jedi situation, where like, canonically, how would he have had time to grow out the mullet again and then get rid of it immediately after? I think it was just a soft retcon because we all know that we really wanted Obi-Wan to have the mullet for a little while in the Clone Wars.
Because it's also like a nice consistency with like people who grew up with Gindis, and like, you know, he has the mullet through the first volume of that, and then it's later when he becomes a Jedi Master that he has the shorter hair.
Yeah,
so,
it's like a transition of growth.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe that should have happened in like the season 3 redesigns. You know, where like how early Clone Wars, they're more armored up, and then the season 3 gets redesigned where they have like the gauntlets, and Anakin has longer hair, but it's they kind of start moving out of the robes. And then in season 7 they do like the full transition where the gauntlets are gone, which is always neat. And Anakin's got the full like boom, you know.
When they finally
Jedi
have the cloth physics on their
Thank
arms.
goodness for that.
Yeah, makes it all fluffy.
They do make Obi-Wan start to get a little ashy,
a little gray. Yeah, it's the salt and pepper look. It's very cool. I mean, we have to talk about the probably my favorite action scene in all 3 of these episodes, at least on an isolated level, and that's Luthen escaping the Cantwell class arrestor cruiser, bro. Yeah. First of all, shout out the Cantwell class arrestor cruiser. I love that ship. I remember, like, I didn't think they were gonna say it, and then the droid mod goes arrestor cruiser Cantwell class. I was like, they said it, because I like pulled out my book, the Starships and Speeders, because it's in that book, and I was like, oh my gosh, there it is.
I really like how even though Andor is very grounded and kind of realistic in its presentation, the writing doesn't shy away from using very in-depth terms of Star Wars. Like how when Luthen gives Cassian the Kyber, and he's like, you know, against the Rakatan invaders, you know, this is blue Kyber, a sky crystal, right? But for this, in this scenario in the ship, he's like, give me a clearance code preference Alderaan, you know. It's just like very, I don't know, it feels so in universe.
They're like, you know, he's like reverse stabilizers, like stuff like that, you know. I think he's like, they're like, you know, like bring all like propulsion levels down to 0, and he's just like, I'm a one man show here. I have to do a reset on the stabilizers, you know.
He's so funny in like the way that he talks. He's like, oh, excuse me, I'm one man show here trying to get this figured out. The ship's going like, you know, just kind of like freaking out.
It has like the overheat on like the left engine, you know, and like he kind of fakes it out and stuff
he's stalling for time to like prep the propulsors. Because he's analyzing like the power of the tractor beam. Which is very cool. But something that's like super satisfying for me is
I know exactly what you're about to say.
Okay, well, there's two things, but the thing that I'm gonna say that's super satisfying is the first time he attacks, which is where those little turrets come out, and it's just the sound design, the sound design for it. It's so satisfying, and it tears up that tractor beam dish. Oh my god, that thing might as well have been made of glass. But like, you know that Luthen has put every nickel and dime into making sure that he is not getting captured whatsoever. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love the Fondor so much. Is because it's very clandestine, where like even Cassian mentions it. He's like when he first steps on it, maybe the third episode or the fourth, and he's like, I don't recall the Fondor Hullcraft being able to go this fast or being able to do this and all that. That's the point. It's supposed to look like innocent, and then if you square up against it, it's like, it's got all these little bits and bobs.
Of course, like
it.
the side like laser beams that first of all, they send out the TIE fighters of like the side hangar bays, which I think is really cool. The fact that there's one on each like wing, but then they go out and just like he first of all curves back around, blitzes that TIE bomber, bro, just annihilates it, goes right past the bridge, and then loops around, gets away. And then, like, as soon as he does that, lets go, and then immediately engages hyperspace because the calculation's complete.
Yeah, and the dude in the ship's just like,
like, imagine getting clowned that bad, dude.
Yeah, because honestly, I would just have whiplash if I were that guy, because I would be an Imperial, like trying to fulfill my quota on this one-man show with a Hullcraft, like this is gonna be nothing. And then suddenly, like, he's a one-man army, more like, that just decimates everything, completely destroys my tractor beam. Very expensive stuff, by the way. But yeah, the laser ignition barrel roll combo, Luthen, my guy. Are you like the dad of Ryan Gosling in a Star Wars Starfighter or something?
We're gonna get Ryan Rael and
his name's just Ryan. That's so dumb. Ryan Rael.
Honestly, like the Fondor is like the Iron Man suit of like Hullcrafts, like, or like freighters. Because like from the lasers to like the flechettes, like it's crazy.
Well, which again, it makes me ask the question: who is this guy? Who is Luthen, dude?
Yeah.
Where does he come from? What are his skills? Why does he hold so much reverence towards a kyber crystal?
Yeah.
What made him super angry in the first place in regards to the rebellion, right? Other than the obvious.
Dude, if we get a Luthen flashback, I'm gonna lose my mind, bro. Like, even just throw me. You don't have to throw me a bone, just like a little treat. Just a little.
Yeah, it'd be kind of endearing if the flashback he was played by Bill Skarsgård.
That would be cool. It's
a stretch, but like if they wanted to do like super young Luthen,
I think they could do Bill or Alexander. Honestly, either of them. Like, dude, that trio, like, powerhouse of actors, man. Must
be in the genes somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, they don't wear jeans in Star Wars.
My bad.
Actually, I will correct myself. I do think Ahsoka wears a denim jumpsuit in Clone Wars Season 7. Regardless,
I'm in Coruscant.
I just also want to say, like, I just love the way Stellan Skarsgård speaks, and to be honest, I kind of I just like forget sometimes that he's in Dune, like,
oh my god, as the Baron,
Ooh. He's again just insanely good.
He's as you said, it's in the family, because you think about Bill, and I'm not gonna say he is. But he's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, he's so talented.
Go watch
right?
Nosferatu or It.
Go watch It, right?
Yeah.
Man, even go watch Barbarian. Like, it's a different sort of thing, but like,
great movie. Yeah.
Just lots of talent there, and you gotta have I have so much respect really for Stellan, with just how much he puts into the role of Luthen.
Yeah.
Because something that maybe this is just internalized, but something that bothers me from time to time is that not a lot of reverence is given to these sorts of IPs sometimes. So like Marvel and Star Wars, like sometimes you'll meet an actor that kind of thinks that they're too good for it. And it's like, oh, it's a kid's thing. Like, put me on the stage back on Broadway, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it just feels so holier than thou. But then, like, you'll be shown people like Ian McDiarmid and Stellan Skarsgård, and, like, you know, the list goes on, and like, they are excellent, classically trained actors that put their all into their role. That really are strong parts of what makes Star Wars so good is just the very convincing performances. So
he did not pull his punches at all, and I don't know what his thoughts are on the matter, but I'm like, the way Diego speaks about this show in particular, he's always talking about how much passion that all of them had for this show. And I'm like, that makes me really happy. And I think truly Andor sets a precedent of allowing a ample amount of creative freedom to make a very well-made show. And this lines up with George's vision of what he wanted Star Wars to be and how he wanted to have the freedom to create what he wanted without corporate interference. And Andor is a modern day example of an absolute triumph of that. And does it guarantee that every project that you give creative freedom to is going to be a 10 out of 10? No, but I will take it a lot more. I will take it any day of the week over something that feels very formulaic. Now I do think there are certain things in Star Wars that are a formula, but again, I don't want everything to be the exact same. And Andor is the prime example of that, in my opinion.
We say it like every episode, there's some Star Wars for everybody.
Yep.
Something that's really important is that even though Star Wars was predominantly made for kids upon its release and sold a whole lot of toys, still does, just because like it's a sci-fi fantasy that was originally intended for kids, that does not mean it shouldn't be taken seriously, right? Yeah. You can still have like the kids stuff, but take that seriously too. You know, like we're not pumping out like just crap here, right?
Yeah.
At least we shouldn't be. Take it seriously. It's an IP. It's a story.
Yeah, you and I have analyzed Star Wars for, our entire lives, and a big part of our friendship has been a long time. And it's been such a core part of us hopping in a call and playing a game and talking about the intricacies of Obi-Wan as a character and the blame he puts on himself, or the fall of Anakin, or the rise of Luke Skywalker, or literally countless characters, because there's still so much to analyze and love. And then when we get these brand new characters, there's even more to love. Luthen is one of your all-time favorites, and I'm not gonna lie, he is one of mine now too. Cassian is one of my all-time favorite characters in Star Wars because of how complex.
Mine too now. Like, he's just so good.
Yeah, like there's just so much to love, and I love these new different stories that we're getting, and it like. I'm so glad we rewatched this season, because I'm just so excited for Andor season 2, dude. Like, I can't and I'm not ready for it to end either. Like, it's been a handful of years since season 1, and I'm also coming to the reality that it's gonna come out, but it's also gonna be over soon.
Okay, well, I will say this at least. If Andor Season 1 had this much of a profound impact on us, this long after its initial release, Season 2, man, it's just going to be the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
And a lot of Star Wars for us is. We will still, sit down and watch Revenge of the Sith. It's going to happen with it when it's re-released in theaters, and we'll just go, man, that cinema. You know, like I'm still gonna tear. I'm still gonna tear up when Obi-Wan gives his speech on Mustafar. I'm still because like it's just the gift that keeps on giving. Like you love this stuff. It's the stories are not loved because you make a million of them. The stories are loved because they are wonderful stories. And so when you give something the respect and care that it deserves, this is what you get. So as for season 2, it's very rare for me to say this, but I have full faith that it's gonna be just great. I really do.
Part of me, I remember finishing it, I was like, man, can Andor season 2 like live up to this? And I was like, what am I saying? Of course it can. Yeah, I was like, in fact, I'm like, I think it will be like, it's crazy to think they made Andor season 1 part, if not most of it, during COVID. What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Know. Yeah. The Batman was as well. So I guess maybe we just got to bring it back or something like that.
Yeah. Oh God, I hope not.
Just kidding. Don't bring it back.
Yeah, please. But that being said, like, I'm like, okay, they've been working on Andor season 2 for years now. And this is really when I think we are going to get into the thick of the rebellion with these next, I mean, true, like we know from the timeline with Rebels, like this is when the Rebel Alliance is directly going to form, and seeing all of these characters be a part of it, whether it is Mon Mothma, whether it is Luthen, Saw Gerrera, Vel, you know, the list goes on, Cassian, Brasso, Bix, like, and whatever new characters. B2EMO, the GOAT.
K2SO.
Dude, I cannot also, just insane that we're getting Krennic this season. I was
literally about to say that. I'm very excited for Krennic.
Did you see that clip of him blind ranking the Star Wars characters for that?
Yeah, and he says that line about Luke Skywalker.
He's just like, I'm waiting for you to say Luke effing Skywalker.
Yeah,
you know?
Because I'm waiting for you to say Luke effing Skywalker.
Yeah,
really
and then they're like, okay, Leia, and he's like, oh, I'd put Leia at number 1.
he's like, oh, she's the number 1. Yeah, that's
him,
really good. Something about Krennic is that we all know what Krennic's working on, and so the only reason why Krennic should appear in a scene is if like he's doing something that is relative to Project Stardust. Other than that, you know, I don't know why he's there. So I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of build-up.
On a pointed note, I kind of missed one little thing in the recap. We find out what they were making on Narkina 5, what those were for.
Yeah, really, really great like way to end the first season on that note.
I completely forgot about that scene, so I was sitting there like writing down some final notes, and then when it cut back, I was like, oh yeah. So of course, we see that the parts that they were making on Narkina are integral little, they're not really little, but like pieces, components, screws, parts, whatever, for the Death Star. And that Cassian and everybody there were, I think they even say a line in, maybe not in episode 10, but in episode 9, of like, they can't afford, like to either like shut the place down, or they can't afford to lose everybody, you know, like they have to keep it going. That's why they're not letting anybody leave in the first place, because whatever they need this for, like they're desperate for it. I wanted to bring up this point. The beach planet that Cassian gets arrested on, that you said that's like Niamos or something like that, right? Yep.
So when they go back to Niamos, like when Cassian goes to get his stuff, you'll notice on the beach, it's at sunset, but nobody's there. You know, the first time you see him, there's a lot of people there just kind of like, I'm rich, you know, like having a good time. But there's nobody there now. You don't even see the Empire. And like, while something could be said that like, it's at sunset or it's at dawn, I'm not really sure what time of day it was, but people are snoozing their away. The way that I interpret it is that everybody got shipped off. You know, if Cassian got whisked away that quickly, and he's a human, by the way, humans are more respected in the Empire than any other species in the galaxy. And so if a human can just be like that, I guarantee you almost any alien species, as long as they don't have like in-depth stretching connection, they will be sent off too. Yep. So
also,
it's sad,
one thing
is what it is.
One thing I failed to note in Narkina, it's not only humans, it's only human males. That is all it is. There is not a single woman there.
Not even amongst the employees, like the Imperials there.
Yep.
Nobody.
Yep.
So it does bring to question like more about that. I mean, I suppose like really it makes sense just from a like a prison-based standpoint that like the Empire hates everybody, so they're like, oh, they need to stay on task, they need to be feared, they can't form those kinds of connections. You know, but it does make you wonder like what kind of other prisons are just in I don't know, in the galaxy. What makes me scared? You remember the Citadel from the Clone Wars? What did Palpatine do with that?
Don't we see it again? Am I crazy for thinking that don't they?
I don't know. The Citadel is on Lola Seiyu.
Okay. Oh, yep.
Which I don't know what that is, but let's see.
It's just a planet.
Here. Yeah. After the Clone Wars, a droid led a separatist holdout at the Citadel. However, the droid leading the garrison of battle droids malfunctioned and instead followed its last directive from the previous war. It had adjusted its programming for a wider target range and targeted all Force sensitives. Droid eventually came to have a Force-sensitive youngling in the prison. This caused a battle where a Jedi warrior managed to free the child. By 9 ABY, Unga Toba served a 25-year sentence, presumably at the Citadel, for unlawfully accessing a computer, which is interesting.
9 ABY? So that's like well after that's like 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Oh, you want to know where that's sourced from?
What?
Knights of Fate from the FFG book.
Oh, really? No way.
From the Star Wars D&D. That's lovely. Okay. I love that.
Cool. Yeah, they sometimes reference some of those stuff as canon, like the Ghostfire crystal that we talked about that one time, like doesn't appear in anything else except
That's right,
those books.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense since the Citadel was a Jedi prison.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts? I've kind of really I have like my notes. I mean, I think the only last thing that I'll say is I also hope I'm excited to see some more Melshi in season 2. I love Cassian and Melshi's dynamic.
Melshi is so unbelievably based, man. Like he just says whatever's on his mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's great, and it makes me very sad about Rogue One, but I want to, since Krennic is there, I would love to see some more build up as to how the rebellion knows like more about just kind of like the goings on of the ISB and like Galen Erso sending out Bodhi. Like I know that is revealed to Cassian at the beginning of the movie, but there's definitely going to be some connections there. I wouldn't be surprised if like it's Lonnie again that he's like, yo, something's going on.
Because we know from I'm blanking on his name, but the guy in the beginning of Rogue One, I think we're gonna see. I don't think Cassian will interact with him, but I do think we're gonna see Bodhi at some point.
I would really like to, because I really like Bodhi as a character for some reason. Like I love Bodhi, I really do. Mm-hmm. It's his death. His death is among one of the ones that like makes me the saddest because it's so instantaneous and it happens out of nowhere. And also like Riz Ahmed's like performance when he looks at the grenade, he's just like he doesn't even have enough time to process it, and it's just boop, it's over, it's done.
There was something that Diego said in an interview where someone was asking them about like if any other Rogue One characters could show up, and I think like they specifically asked about like Bodhi or somebody, and he was like you'll just have to see, I guess. Like I can't say that, you know. And I was like okay. I feel like Galen and Bodhi have to show up.
I was gonna say I really want to see Galen, but how much money do we have? Well, what's the budget? You know?
Yeah.
Because how much more does Mads Mikkelsen cost?
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be happy to come back. Because like he always hams it up.
Yeah, I will put out an excellent theory that honestly I would not even be mad about this at all. That so you remember in the beginning of Bad Batch, or not beginning of Bad Batch, season 2 on Iriadu, where they have that summit with Krennic and with Tarkin and all of them. Mm-hmm. It'd be great if at one of these episodes within season 2 we get one of those, because obviously remember they were presenting the projects that they had, and it would be really cool and the kind of like meta, but in a really good way. If Thrawn was there,
I knew you were gonna say it.
Yeah, and Galen is also there because Mads Mikkelsen and Lars Mikkelsen are brothers. I think that would be.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to have like maybe like Krennic brings Galen along to like report on the progress of the Death Star.
It would be cameo palooza, but it would make sense.
Yeah, and I don't, and most people aren't gonna be like
Moff Gideon's also there.
Oh my god, bro. I mean,
okay,
hey,
but like,
he's ISB.
That's what I'm saying. Like, talk about a nexus of different Star Wars stories converging together. It would be kind of funny though, if like, I hope they don't do CG Tarkin. I really hope that they don't. But like, let's just say Tarkin is like, you know, Grand Admiral Thrawn, how is the TIE Defender project doing? And Thrawn just like,
these rebels like, messing me up, man.
Or yeah, but it could be, I don't know, before whatever happens.
True.
With rebels, he's like, there's a small insurrection in Lothal, but I have it covered.
Yeah.
And then it gets a phone call. Dude, the factory just blew up, man.
Why did you kind of sound like Shaggy there? You're like Thrawn. The factory just blew up, man.
I was kind of trying to emanate that. Shaggy as an Imperial on Lothal. Like, Scoob, the TIE Defender fuel refinery blew up, man. It's Phoenix Squadron, man.
It's a Jedi, man. Oh my gosh.
It's a Jedi, man.
Yeah, I don't need like a bunch of different Imperials to show up, but I like if I had to have one, considering that the TIE Defender program and the Death Star are like the two most important ones in the library of Imperial weapons that are rising, would love to see Thrawn. Don't need it, but I would love it. And it would be awesome to see Thrawn under Tony Gilroy's direction.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He would own the scene. That's for sure. I would really like to see. I'd honestly like to see Yularen again. I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot to mention this on our last episode, but like, it's kind of scary how imperialistic Yularen really became, because when you see him in the Clone Wars, like, you kind of love him. You're like, yeah, Admiral Yularen, let's go. But man, he just I spoke with the Emperor last night, and over tea. Yeah. We were playing Xbox. But yeah, like he's very sinister. That man like leads the ISB pretty much.
Well, that is pretty much all my thoughts of Andor, and I believe yours as well. But needless to say, we're very stoked for Andor season 2. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna balance watching the 3 episodes and once we go into our recording. But honestly, it might be a thing that I just like lock in every Tuesday night and just from 9 p.m. to midnight just binge them all. Because I'm ready.
I'm so excited.
4 days. 4 days of this from we were recording this, and Celebration is still happening, so there might be more announcements that we even talk about on our next episode. But
Ben Quadraneros' Star Wars story,
dude. Is Ryan Gosling playing Ben Quadraneros?
Oh, is he playing Ryan Quadraneros?
Just every character. my camera is doing this the whole episode. I don't really care. But yeah, Just insert every character's last name, but just Ryan. Hey Cole, give me a number between 2 and 124, not 42.
113.
Yes, like 1313, except not at all.
That's kind of what I was gonna say, but I just decided not to say it.
Well,
what do you got?
It's karaoke night at the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Oh.
What song do you perform for the tough crowd?
Oh man. Okay. Oh, what's that?
You have to look this up?
Yes, I don't remember the name of the song. Just give me a second.
Does it have to be an in-universe Star Wars song? Is that what we're going for?
I mean, I wasn't gonna start. I wasn't gonna start singing, "Staying Alive."
Okay. I was thinking of real songs, but I get you now. I mean, I'll probably, because it's in basic and not Huttese, I'd probably sing a song by Gaia from the Star Cruiser, because she has her songs in English.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I would love to learn Huttese. I would love to sing Jedi Rocks, but I just don't think it's happening, bro.
we could duet.
Yo, I could be Sice Noodles.
Okay, can I be the? Oh, he's there.
Yeah, you're that guy.
I'll be that guy.
Or you're just the dude, the Weequay guy who like hits the drums like this.
I want to bring that guy's energy to every event. Event.
Right. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say there's one more idea, but I'm gonna wait and let you go because I might be stealing it. I don't want to take it.
What I was gonna say is that I'm gonna sing "Chicken in the Pot" from Solo.
Okay, that's exactly what I was about to say. One of us could be the woman, and one of us could be the chicken.
I'm gonna be the jar thing. I want to be the jar thing. That's what he sounds like. So I'll be the guy in the jar. Yeah. Thanks,
I just remember him being like, "La Louie." I don't know what she said. I feel like that's like in universe. Like just I'm not gonna try to butcher Huttese. But,
that's gotta be one of like our dumbest chat pack scenarios.
Let us know if you want to see us live stream perform us doing Chicken in the Pot from Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Yes, if you want us to do it, we will go to Galaxy's Edge and sing in the cantina "Chicken in the Pot." I will cosplay as Alien Jar Thing. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure it out.
You just like wear like a black bodysuit and then like paint your face and just put like a jar on your head, and then honestly, that would be so funny. I kind of want to do this.
That would be a great like cosplay scenario for Star Wars Celebration. People would love that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, there's plenty of cantina like set things. Just us walking around as Dryden Voss's personal entertainers.
That's so stupid.
That's so dumb, dude. Chat Pack never fails to disappoint sometimes, honestly. Like even with ones like these, I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And then I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of funny. I won't even.
And then it's like, if you were to be the donor of the clone army,
yeah, I always think about like the most existential question ever. Like it's always the cycle of this. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this very elongated episode of Mortis FM, a Star Wars podcast, wrapping up. Don't laugh at me saying podcast.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking of podcast, and it was kind of funny.
That's right, Ryan Podcast.
Ryan, why is he back?
That's his name. But yeah, very pumped for Andor Season 2. Thank y'all for sticking with us for this Andor Season 1 comprehensive retrospective, letting us gush about it.
Yes, and the next time you see us, we will have seen the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 2.
Yes, we will.
So, we got that going for us, which is nice. If you get that reference, you're a real one. Anyway.
That's like a double-layered reference.
Yeah, I'm referencing the second reference, not the actual reference to it.
Yeah.
I'm referencing the referential reference to the reference. So, have a good one with that. Grayson, anything else? Well, then I would like to say, May the force be with you.
By the way, for audio listeners, I shook my head. But always...
Oh, hey!